everybody. I'm Jamie.
I'm Ethan.
And we are the Bloody Essentials podcast. The lovely Nina can't join us tonight. She's off having fun. But we're going to do a really good job, in her spirit and in her honor. Thanks so much for everybody's great support. We've been loving all the feedback we've been getting from you guys. Love talking to you about the horror movies you love and what you thought of the episodes. If you haven't already, give us a follow, show us some support. We also got an awesome Patreon with some really good perks, so definitely check that out. And we have some really exciting con dates coming up, as well as a really awesome trivia game. I'm going to turn it over to Ethan to talk about that.
All right, everybody. We are going to be at the Days of the Dead Horror Convention in Indianapolis, July 5th through the 7th. We are going to be at Flashback Weekend, August 2nd through the 4th in Rosemont, Chicago. And finally, we are going to be at the Ohio TerrorCon, August 16th and 17th. So if you are there and you see us, come up, say hi, take a picture, have a drink with us. Let's talk some horror. You're probably sick of hearing me saying it, but we're going to say it anyway. We're having horror trivia. It's going to be on the first or second week in October. What we are going to do is we are going to take our first 5 Patreons or our first 5 people who say that they want to go ahead and do this. We're going to put your name in a bucket. We're going to pick your name out. Then we're going to get a hold of you, let you know when it's going to be and what you need to do. The questions are going to consist of all things that are horror. We're going to specifically have ones that we have done on the podcast. So go back, re-listen to some stuff. Not only about the actual movies, but about your hosts and what we like, what we don't like. Some personal information about us. Our first place prize is a gift box with a value of between $75 to $100. And the second place prize is a gift bag between $50 to $75.
And there's some really cool stuff that we're putting in those gift baskets, guys. Like really cool stuff. If you love horror movies, you want to get in on this.
Yes, we have some great independent horror movies that have been signed by producers, directors, some of the actors. We are going to some cons, so who knows? We may even have some signed pictures or signed props from some of your favorite actors in there. We've got stuffed animals, socks, hats. We've got all kinds of stuff. We've got, I don't know if I should be telling you, we have like a movie bundle. So you can have a movie night. Really cool stuff. We're very excited. We can't wait to talk with you guys and talk horror. So I'm going to kick it back to Jamie for a minute. She can let us know what movie we're doing tonight.
Yeah. Okay. So we are going to be taking a little ride down Freeway. Reese, Witherspoon, Kiefer, Sutherland. Fun little movie. Out of curiosity, when's the first time you've seen this one, Ethan?
I seen this movie when it first came out.
Aww.
So back in '96, I was already out of high school by that time. So yeah, and I absolutely love Reese.
Me too.
Love Reese. She is absolutely gorgeous, and I think she's a great actress.
Oh, she's so good.
But
she's so talented.
I remember watching this movie back then and being like, oh my God, she is so fine.
I know.
And yeah, I watched it several other times, and I rewatched it just today, and I was like, she's still fine, but I feel dirty because I'm old now. But I'm like, okay, she was 20 when she played in the movie. She was playing a 15-year-old, but 15, 16-year-old, but she was still old. But I'm like, oh, I still feel dirty. So,
I know, same.
So after this, I'm gonna have to watch something with her when she's older, so I don't feel like such a freaking dirty old man. So
I'm like, guilty as well over here. Guilty
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I can't actually remember the first time exactly that I saw this one, but I definitely like caught it either on TV or on streaming like quite a while ago. It's
Yeah.
been a while, but really like this one. I feel like it's kind of like a different Reese than we sometimes see, so that's really, 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 really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I
Well,
haven't seen her play many roles like this. So
I know it's a treat. But you want to take it away with some plot points.
I certainly will. Okay. Our opening is we are in a classroom, and Vanessa, who is Reese Witherspoon, and her boyfriend and her classmates are in this class. And how do I say this without sounding real mean? But you can tell it's quite obviously a special ed class because they're not too bright. She's trying to read, a four word sentence on there, and she's like, the cat, and I'm like, oh God, honey, no, 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 no. So she's not all that bright. She's street smart, but she's not book smart. So
Exactly.
After the whole class, and you find out who she's dating, Cooper, because they start making out in class.
Yep.
It cuts over
Yep.
to
Hey, she did good on that sentence. It's a little reward.
Right? It's a little reward. You get to do a little making out now. So it cuts down to the street. Her and the boyfriend are walking down the street, and you see this hooker standing there getting ready to proposition some guys who, I hate to say, it looks like she just came out of the trailer, hasn't bathed. I mean, pretty nasty looking. And turns out that's good old mom. That is Reese's mom. So they argue for a little bit. She goes into the house. We then meet the stepfather. They have a little banter back and forth. The stepfather is a complete dick.
Such a scumbag.
Yeah, complete scumbag. She's like, aren't you, you don't even care that, she's out here selling herself for, and he's like, it is what it is, He's
like, I make her use mouthwash after. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, the whole dynamic of that, I'm just like,
I know.
It's terrible because people actually do live like that, but
I know.
So he's out there, he's smoking crack, and all of a sudden he's reaching over and grabbing her boob and molesting her, and I'm like, okay, this guy's a snake and needs to be, punched repeatedly in the face.
Which I'm thankful that she does kind of like kick his ass a little bit.
Yeah.
Kick his butt a little bit. I like how she's like, keep your hands off my anatomy.
Yeah, I love it. So anyway, stepdad's hitting on her. Mom's outside, trying to sell the goods. So she goes to a car. She makes this proposition to this guy, and lo and behold, the guy's a cop.
Yeah.
So pull her out of the car. The cop cars all come. They pull her out of the car, and she tries the first, oh, I just got my daughter back, and I can't get arrested, and all this. So of course, they don't care. They've got her up against the car. They've got her handcuffed. They're going through her purse. They found either a crack pipe or a meth pipe. So that gives them the probability to go ahead and go into the hotel where they're staying so they can go ahead and check that. And she's like, can't do that. My daughter's there and my husband's there and he's on parole, and, trying to give him every excuse. Any rate, they go into the hotel room and they kick it in there. There's porn on the TV. They're in Vanessa's bedroom. She's on top of her. And so they pull him off. So I'm like, obviously, he's going to jail too.
Such a scumbag.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't be a cop.
Oh.
Because if I found a grown man on top of a 15-year-old girl, I would have accidentally ran over him with my car. Threw him down. He fell down a flight of stairs. I wouldn't have thrown him down a flight of stairs. No. Just accidentally would have happened. So
yeah, he could have accidentally deserved it for sure.
Absolutely.
He makes me so mad. Like, he really does. Like, poor Vanessa, she really has like a tough situation that she's in, you know. I mean, she's essentially like illiterate, you know, her parents are not parents to her.
Right.
But I will say she does have awesome fashion. I have to just mention her little like crop top and her pants, and then she has this like red leather jacket, and I have to say red leather jackets in horror are like my new thing. We saw it in
Right.
Freeway. I've seen it in a couple other horror movies, and I'm like, oh, you know, cool girls and red leather jackets. Anyway, she has a tough situation, but her fashion has not suffered.
No, her fashion has not suffered, and she's a little cutie.
Yeah.
So on the news before they come in, the police come in there. On the news, there is a newscast about the I-5 killer. So that's bringing that into play right now. So
yes,
they come in. Both of the parents get arrested. Clearly, they're both high because they're sitting on the couch, laughing, cackling. I mean, don't seem to be scared or care at all that they're getting locked up. So
they were being like their kookiest selves. Like it's
right?
like, okay, I know you guys are high as a kite right now, but the police are here. You know, maybe like tone down the kookiness just a tiny bit. But nope, they just like they let the kooky flag fly.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was like, all right, sure.
Yeah, they're going in.
Hello. So the police take them. The policewoman's standing there with Vanessa, and you know, she's like, I'm gonna have to call Department of Children and Family Services. And she's like, you know, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Why don't you, you know, let me go home with you. And the cop's like, oh, we're not allowed to do that. And she's like, yes, you are. If you don't want to, just tell me that. And she's like, okay, well, I don't want you to. Yeah, I just don't want to. You know, it is what it is. You're not coming on with me. So up pulls the, I'm not sure if this was her parole officer.
Okay.
I think it was her parole officer. I don't think it was the DCFS worker yet. I think it was Vanessa's parole officer. And we're going to find out she's on parole for some things later on in the movie.
Exactly.
The parole officer pulls up, and it's Berta from 2.5 Men.
I know. I was going to say, I love her.
I love it. I was like, I forgot she was even in here.
I know. And they get each other a hug at first and stuff too. And I'm like, oh, I love this lady. And I have to say, like, it made me, it's so sad, like how, you know, she's like, she does not want to go back into that system. Who could blame her? You know what I mean? But it's like, there's something really sad in it. Like this moment between them where they kind of hug. And it's this moment of like, neither of us wants to be here right now because it's not the ideal, but here we are.
Yeah. I mean, I have that in my notes here. You know, they hug each other, and obviously they know each other. You know, it's like the third or fourth time this year that they've had to do this. So, you know, that kind of tore at the heartstrings just a little bit. So as they're going in, she's like, you know, we're going to find you a foster home. And she's like, no, I could just go to my grandma's. I can go to my grandma's. And she's like, I've not heard of this grandma. You know, what's going on? She's like, well, it's my grandmother on my dad's side, but I don't really know her. I've never met her. And she's like, well, what do you mean you haven't met her? She's like, well, her and my mama, you know, they had some bad blood before. And she's like, well, what do you mean they had some bad blood? You know, she's like, well, she threw boiling water in her face and, you know, burned her. Yeah, I would say you have some bad blood. She's like, yeah. She's like, you know, I've never really met her, but I'm sure she would, you know, go ahead and take me in.
It's like, would you know?
Right? I'm not real sure about that there, honey. So
I have to say, though, it's fun because there's like a whole Little Red Riding Hood theme in this movie. The credits have a little bit of animation. And so the fact that she's like going to grandma's house, there's like our first definite like Little Red Riding Hood kind of.
Oh, yeah. There are a whole bunch of little ones in here that I was like, yeah, this is definitely the Little Red Riding Hood that I would have liked when I was a kid. So
Witherspoon is in it. Count me in.
Absolutely. So she tells Berta, I don't know her name, so I'm just gonna call her Berta. So Berta's like, okay, go ahead and get your clothes, right? So she like pushes her in the room and puts some handcuffs on her ankle or And she's like, I'm sorry. And she's like, you don't want to do this? And she's like, yes, I do. I do want to do this. So she's like, if you scream loud enough, the neighbor will come over and you can get out. I mean, she doesn't really want to hurt her.
No.
But she's like, I'm not going back into foster care because I've had, too many issues with that.
Yeah,
so.
That ain't happening today. Nothing against you, but yeah, you just scream for a while and you'll be okay.
Exactly. So she jumps in the family car and she's headed off. But before she leaves, she's going to go pick up Chopper, her boyfriend. And she pulls up to him. And he's having a talk with some people, which obviously is a little heated discussion. They leave. And, he kisses her and he's like, she's like, I'm leaving. If you ever want to see me again, you're going to come with me now. And he's like, oh, I can't do that. I got court next week.
Yeah.
He's like, I got sentencing. I'm like, is everyone in this town a felon? I mean,
I was going to say there are so many court dates and paroles and all that to keep track of in this community.
Right? He's like, I'm going to get a year at wherever if I don't show up. So he's like, I'm not going. So they kiss and do a really creepy makeout with her. Those noises. I was like, no, I just, yeah.
Thank you. I was sitting there and I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh God, it sounds like creatures in a fish aquarium. Like, what is that? Okay. I was
talking to Nina the other day and she was like, I just can't get with that. She's like, no.
No.
Yeah, she was like, no, with the makeout noises, and I can't get with Reese in this whole, get up.
Get up
in the whole. Yeah, she's like, I can't do that. I'm like, well, I get it, I understand.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So Cooper says, I can't go with you. So she's like, all right, and she kisses him and she reaches into. You notice she had a basket with her?
She did, Little Red Riding Hood.
Yes. Yeah. So she reaches in and gives him that was a beer, correct?
It was just like the one she was drinking while driving.
Drinking while she was driving, yes. So she gives him a beer and he's like, do you have any money? And she's like, no. So he's like, okay. I thought he was going to pull out money to give her.
I did too.
Yep. Nope. He pulls out a gun. He's like, here, sell this when you get where you're going and you'll have some money. So, okay, great, right. Cool. So it's a loving boyfriend. Here, take this gun.
Take this gun. You sell it. Things will be okay. All right.
Right. So she's driving off, looking in the mirror, drinking her beer, crying because she's living the love of her life. She's got to go. So she is getting onto the I-5 freeway. Mm-hmm. I like how they went right as it said freeway and then it was like I-5. So because you do know that the I-5 killer is an actual serial killer.
I feel like, I feel like I've heard of this killer before.
Yeah, it is. He's an actual serial killer. So it is actually based on an actual serial killer. There's actually a couple of references to serial killers in here, which I'll get to in a minute. Mm-hmm. So she's getting on the freeway. As we see her getting on the freeway, we cut back to Cooper standing there, and a carload full of Mexicans that he was just arguing with comes by and drive-by shooting. He reaches for his gun, which he had just given to Reese, so he couldn't return fire, and he's now dead. So.
Yeah, and man, I have to say, it's like I always feel like the realistic kind of horror stuff always gets me a little bit more, just because I'm like, oh, that was so gritty and just oh yeah, that's just how it goes down sometimes.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's why you should never give your gun to your girlfriend. Keep it.
There you go.
So, I'm sorry, that's probably not what I should have got out of that, but. Oh well.
Priorities here. Don't do that, man.
I'm like, if you loved her, you'd have bought her one of her own. So she's getting on the freeway and her car breaks because, well, the car's a piece of crap. So the car breaks down. She looks under the hood trying to fix it. She obviously doesn't know what she's doing. We see a car pull over, some good Samaritans coming to help, right?
Oh, of
So
course, of course. It's got to be good
exactly.
news.
So we see that it is Bob who is Kiefer Sutherland. He pulls over to help. He comes over behind her, and he's like, having a problem, young lady? And she just goes off on this just mother effing tirade, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Forgive my language."
I
So
love her.
he's like, "Go ahead, get in the car. Let's see if we can, if we can fix it." He tells her, "Turn it over." It doesn't turn over. He's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, the car's shot." Now, I'm going to stop here for a minute and ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you think the car was actually fixable and it was just something, a loose wire or something that he could have fixed, but didn't because he wanted to get her in the car? Or do you think it was really not fixable?
You know what? It could be either way, but I would like to believe that it was fixable. And he just said it wasn't, because that establishes him as our big bad wolf, if you will.
Yes.
That tells us that, like, oh wait, we know that there's a killer on the freeway, and now this guy's stopping, and now he's getting her in the car. So yeah, I think it was fixable.
That's what I thought in my head. I'm like, I was like, definitely, it's fixable, but he's definitely not going to because he wants to get her into the car.
Oh no,
so
she's a sitting duck in that situation.
That's what I'm going with. So okay, so
Same.
car's not fixable. He says, "Hey, where are you going?" She says, "I'm going here." He's like, "I'm going as far as, LA. I'll be happy to give you a ride if you want to." So she's like, "Oh, mister, that's very nice." And I'm like, "Have they never taught you anything in school? Don't talk to strangers. Don't get in cars with strangers." I'm like, this was the 90s. That was still a big thing. I mean, Uber wasn't there yet where you called a stranger and they came and picked you up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just do not get in the car with strangers. But whatever. I guess if she had said no, the movie would have been over. So
I know, right? But it is like, oh, girl. Like my inner like maternal instincts are just like coming out, and I don't have maternal instincts, but I'm like, oh no, don't get in the car with him. That is dangerous. You do not know him. Right? Nobody knows where you are at right now. Nobody, Nobody has a plan. There's no safety plan here, ma'am.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, that's just kind of stupid, honey, but whatever.
Okay.
So she gets in the car and they're having all kinds of small talk, and he tells her that he's a counselor at an all boys school. So they're just chatting away, and he's like, you may want to open up to somebody that you don't know, and it's sometimes easier that way, which I guess would be true. You don't know me, you're not going to pass judgment on me. So, and she at first was like, nah, I'm good. Well, it didn't take much convincing because she opened up and she just had like diarrhea of the mouth. Everything. She was just telling him everything, which again made me feel bad because I'm like, this poor girl really does need somebody to talk to. She really does need counseling. She really does need somebody in her life who, isn't a dick, who can actually help her.
I know. And I feel like, man, Bob, he's using like his skill sets and his like psychological kind of knowledge to totally like manipulate her and like put her right where he wants her.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bad guy.
Yeah. He's like, we're going to gain her trust, then we'll go ahead and attack her.
Exactly. Gonna make her emotionally vulnerable, gonna open up her deepest like wounds in life, and then
So they stop to eat, and she tells them, that's been the first good meal that she's had in a month. And he was like, okay, no problem. She starts telling him about, it's my stepdad, and my real dad died, and he died at the blah, blah, blah. And she shows him, she's like, do you want to see a picture of my dad? So he's like, sure. So she shows him a picture of the dad, which is a picture of the real serial killer, Richard Speck. So,
yes. One of my fun facts right there. I thought
okay.
And I noticed that. No, it's great. And I noticed it too, like, because that's a serial killer I'm familiar with. So I was like, I know that guy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's Richard Speck. I know him. He's a Chicago serial killer. And I'm like, I'm way too excited about this.
I recognized him too. I was definitely like, oh, hey.
Yeah, but apparently I'm the one who catches shit for liking serial killers. But I digress. So
we move on.
exactly. Okay. So he's like, I'd really like to stretch my legs before we get on the road. Are you okay with that? And she's like, sure, I ain't got nowhere to go. So they're taking a little walk and he's asking her all about stuff and she's opening up even more. And before they get back in the car, they're standing there and looking over like the water. And she doesn't realize it, but he is being so freaking creepy.
So creepy.
He's like all up on her and like just hovering over her and like breathing down her neck. And I'm like, how are you not getting this? I mean, I understand he was being nice to you and you're feeling a little more comfortable, but I'm like, he is so close to you, like there is no room in between you two. That was creepy to me.
I know.
That would have been my first red flag. I'd have been like, I gotta go. I'm not getting back in your car. You're crazy.
I know. Like the creep radar should have been going off like crazy.
Absolutely.
Because there's no way she didn't feel that. Like you can tell when somebody's that close to you. Like you can feel it if somebody's just staring at you. You know what I mean? Let alone like breathing on you. Like
yeah. Yeah, I'm like, there's no way she didn't realize that.
It's Creep City.
Yeah, big time. Okay, so they're back in the car and Vanessa starts crying and, she's telling them all about, the stepdad molesting her and all of that. And, Bob is setting her up for the strike.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I see my in here. So he asks her, he's like asking her all these personal questions. He's like, there's this new type of therapy that may help you. And, do you trust me? And she's like, I think you're about the only one that I do trust right now. So yeah, go ahead. And he's asking her all kinds of just rancid questions.
I know. So. It's hard to even say them on air. Like, what?
I was like looking through my questions and I was like, yeah, I can't say any of these on air because I don't want to get flagged. So.
Yeah, but we'll just say that it's some dark stuff about like what happened to her with her stepfather and
graphically.
It's graphic and it makes her mad. She reacts obviously because who wouldn't? And that's exactly what he wanted from her.
Exactly.
But so you go watch it. We won't say it.
Yeah, we won't say it. Go watch it if you haven't seen it yet. Go watch it. But the last one when he asked her if she liked it is when she just kind of like exploded. Yeah, and she's like, I want out of this car and blah blah blah, and you pull over now. And she goes for the door handle and there is no door handle, and she's like, what? And he reaches over and he's like, you looking for this? So she then realizes, oh God, you're the freak who's going around killing all these people, aren't you? And he doesn't directly say yes, but he doesn't say no. He just gives her that crazy, creepy smile.
I know, which Kiefer is so good at, by the way.
Oh God, he is great in creepy roles.
He really is. Oh, he's so good. So good,
yes,
man. I really, really buy it.
So she realizes that he's the killer. He pulls a razor out on her. Pulls a razor out on her and, slaps her around and stuff and tells her, basically this is what's going to happen. Shut it up. Take your clothes off. I'm going to do what I want. And she's like, what are you going to do? And he basically was like, I'm going to have sex with you, kill you, then I'm going to have sex with you again. Yeah.
Like we said, guys, he's descriptive. Yeah. He's Yeah, he's an explicit person.
And he did not say it as nice as I said it.
No.
So the I-5 killer is not only a murderer, he's a pedophile and a necrophiliac. And
Yeah.
yeah.
He's not someone you want to get in the car with.
No, not at all.
He cuts off her ponytail, her cute
yes.
her braided high pony that I'm obsessed with. He cuts it right off.
Yes. Which is great because it was just in one fell swoop. He was like, whoop.
I know.
And cut it off. So, anyway, she hits him, jumps in the back, and goes for her basket or her purse and pulls out the gun and says that, she's going to kill him. And then she's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to take you to the police. And he's like, now he's starting to kind of freak out about it. And he's like, they're never going to believe you. Someone like you versus someone like me, you're going to go back into foster care. I'm going to be let go because there's no evidence. And, you're pulling a gun on me and you've had all these things. I'm an upstanding citizen, just like, the old foster family that you had that, did you wrong. So she's like, okay, we're going to do this a different way. So she says, pull over into this dirt road. And he's like, how long are we going to drive? She's like, pull over to this dirt road. So they pull off into the dirt road, and she's still got the gun on him. And every now and again, she'll say something. She'll hit him with the gun. She'll hit him with the gun, which I'm like, I'm loving that.
Yes,
Pistol whip him. That's great.
She ain't playing around.
Right? Which, again, here, she's got the gun on him. If that was me, I never would have been like, I'm going to take you to the police. I'd have just shot him right there.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, okay, come and get me. He's the I-5 killer. This is what he said he was going to do to me.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I guess she didn't want to be put back in foster care, and I get it. And the movie would have been over.
Exactly. So. She's like, I feel like he's really like tugging at like her insecurities too, because, she's had so many situations where the system like, didn't take care of her basically, her previous foster family, they were able to just do bad things to her and no repercussions, happened. Yeah. So she's like totally in that, he's totally getting into her like insecurities of that and what she has a history of seeing the police do. But she should have just shot him right there. But I digress. We take care of the situation.
Exactly. So she's back there, behind him with the gun, and she's hitting him with the gun, and she's yelling at him, and he's up in front, and he's crying. And now I'm thinking, is he crying because he thinks he's going to die? Is he crying because he's really not crying and he's trying to throw her off and he's going to attack her? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, please don't fall for this he's crying thing. And because I'm like, this is just a ploy, honey. He's been playing you the whole time. This is just another notch in his belt here.
I mean, he's literally the big bad wolf, crying wolf. Hello.
Yeah.
He's crying wolf here.
I had to laugh at this part. Vanessa's like, I'm going to ask you a question. Okay. She's like, if you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, he was like, what? She's like, do you believe Jesus died for you? He's like, yes. She's like, good. Bang! And shoots him. I was like, well, at least she wanted to make sure he was going to heaven first. I'm like, that's great. So she shoots him.
It's amazing.
Yeah, she shoots. I'm like, oh, okay, you're going to kill him, but you're going to tell him how to go to heaven first. That's so nice of you.
You go, she's not a bad person.
Right? So she shoots him in the neck. He gets out of the car, stumbling around, and finally he falls. She gets out and she just unloads the gun into him.
Yeah.
Which, good for you, girl.
She must have seen some horror movies, right? Because she knows that you don't just shoot the guy once. You got to load him up with bullets before you think it's okay.
Absolutely. So she loads him up with the bullets. Then she gets down and she prays.
Mhm.
She's like, yep, God, sorry I had to do this, and I hope you don't hate me any more than you do for doing this, but it is what it is. Sorry. And
My
then she
bad.
goes and she, well, steals all of his money and she robs him. So
Yeah.
then she
Hey, he
wanders.
deserved it though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you killed him. Take his money. That's fine. I mean, it is what it is. You're on the run. Take his money. So, so she goes into the truck stop, full of blood all over her face, blood all over her hands.
What that look?
Sits down, puts her little basket down, and she's like, "Yeah, I think I would like the blah 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 blah." And the waitress is just like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, I just look a fright, don't I?" So she goes into the bathroom and she's washing up and all of that. In the meantime, Bob stumbles into the hospital because Bob is not dead.
He's alive.
He's still alive, so he stumbles into the hospital and he's, holding his face because half of his face is gone. He's bleeding all over and he's like, "Please help me. Call my wife." And I'm like, "Oh, now you want your wife, you dick." Okay.
I know.
The girl I was going to kill and have sex with her dead body just shot me. Could you call my wife, please? So.
Yes, please. Husband of the year right there.
Right? So he obviously falls down. They rush him in, the whole 9 yards. And you see the cops coming into the truck stop and they're arresting Vanessa. And Vanessa's like,
Okay.
what the problem is? Why are you arresting me?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
What
They're
gives?
like, yeah, they're like, "We got a gun." She's like, "Everybody has a gun. What's the big deal?" I'm like, "Honey, an hour ago you just shot somebody.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
think,
and left him there.
and you showed up covered in blood. This could be the reason that the police are here. I'm just saying."
Just a little. Yeah, they might have some questions for you.
Right? So the cops are now back at the hospital and they show a picture of Reese to him, which would never happen. He's laying in the emergency room. Doctors are around him. He's writhing in pain. And they're like, "We just got to ask him this question." So they show him this picture of Reese. They're like, "Is this the girl who did it?" And the picture of, she looked crazy in that picture. She's like, I'm like, wow.
Okay.
Did she look crazy in the picture?
I laughed out loud during this moment and I wrote it down because it's so funny to me. So I think that moment is pure comedy. They're like holding this picture and it's literally her looking nuts. Is this the person who shot you? Is this the person who shot you? And the way that it's framed too, the photo is like right at the front of the frame, so you really see it. So I thought that was hilarious that she looks crazy in that picture.
It's like she's laughing at you because this just happened.
I know.
Okay, so the cops go out and they were like, they're talking to Bob's wife, which I didn't get her name, but it is Brooke Shields.
It is Brooke Shields, and I did not know her name. I just called her Brooke Shields through all my notes, but I have to stop and say the fashion continues because I'm so obsessed with her shirt. It's like white, but it's got like a black collar and then like little leopard print shoulders, and I'm like, love her. She's married to a crazy person. I wonder how much she knows, but great style.
Okay, so she's like, "You're gonna find this girl, and you're gonna do something about this, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, okay. We're gonna handle it, but she's a minor." She's like, "I don't care if she's a minor. I wanted to get the gas chamber." And the other cop is like, "Electric chair. We don't do gas. We don't do the gas chamber anymore." He was just all so nonchalant about it. So
I love the cops, by the way. They're great.
Oh, both of them. Both of them are awesome. Yeah, I like them. So Vanessa's now in jail. Not in prison yet, but she's in jail and she's getting questioned by the cops. And she's like, "Okay, well, he was the I-5 killer and I killed him, and that's what it is, and kumbaya, and what do you want from me? And they're like,
See ya.
you didn't kill him.
He's alive.
She's like, yeah, okay. She's like, no, you didn't kill him. He's still alive. He's going to make it, So they're not believing that her I-5 killer thing. They just think he picked her up. She tried to rob him, whatever, escalated. This is what happened. So
they're not on her side at first.
No, they're questioning her, and she's like, well, why didn't you come to us and tell us this before? And she's like, well, because of my past, I knew you wouldn't believe me. And they start rattling off stuff from her past, and they're like, okay, so you've been arrested for shoplifting 16 times and arson 3 times, and you got anger problems, and you've been arrested for prostitution. Okay, so I made some mistakes. What's the big deal?
But hey, they're not, they aren't violent crimes. I mean, they're crimes.
Right.
Well, the arson, nobody was in the building.
I was going to say arson is pretty bad, though.
I was like, ooh, actually, the 3 arsons was pretty bad. But we know for sure that one of those situations, there was not a person inside. At least one time.
So the one cop, starts really going back and forth, and he knows how to get under his skin. So
he does.
She freaks out on him and jumps up and calls him the N-word and slaps him a couple times and then hits him with a chair. And I mean, she really goes off on him. So which I'm like,
it's like WWF.
I loved it, but I'm like, after she jumped up and called him the N-word and slapped him twice, that other cop would have tackled her. There's no way she'd have hit him with a chair.
She'd been lucky not to get tased. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but it was entertaining. So
it was entertaining.
So she said the only way that she was going to, was going to talk to them, is if she got to call her boyfriend, because she did not know that he was dead yet. So they honored what she said, and she called and she was talking to the mother, and she's like, I need to, I want to talk to Cooper. And obviously the mother told her that he had been killed in a drive-by, and the phone just drops and you see the expression on Reese's face, and just yet another heartbreak for Reese.
This girl, poor Vanessa, she's had really tough knocks in life for sure.
Yeah.
Just another one.
Yeah. So we go from there, we see Reese is in court for her first court date.
Oh, yes, she is.
And Bob comes in with his wife looking all kinds of messed up. And she just starts laughing, and she's like, oh my God, but you look at you, you're so ugly. You're hideous. I hear you got a shit in one of those bags. I mean, she was just
ragging on him.
Yeah, she was ragging on him. So she's freaking on him, telling him all about this stuff. So the judge says that they're going to send her to what I assumed was a juvenile home so they could do some, cognitive tests on her and see if she's suitable to stand trial, and if she's going to stand trial for as an adult.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were wanting to do. So they bring her to prison, or they bring her to the jail. The warden meets him, says, here, let me show you where your beds are. And she's coming in with another girl, and she says, okay, this is your bed. And she meets her crazy ass bunkmate, the crazy lesbian, played by Brittany Snow.
Brittany Murphy.
Brittany Murphy. I can't read. Yes, it is Brittany Murphy.
I forgot she was in this movie because I haven't seen it in a while, and I love Brittany Murphy. And this is Brittany Murphy with like black hair, like dark hair. This is like baby Brittany Murphy, and her character has like scars and stuff all over her face, and she is whacked out. And I love
she played crazy well.
Oh, Brittany Murphy played crazy so good.
And I know it was Brittany Murphy. I don't know why the hell I put Brittany Snow down here.
I love Brittany Snow too, though.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot she was in this movie. I was so excited to
Yep.
see her, and she plays crazy so good. Totally
Yes.
loved her, and she's like, "I'm in here for huff and paint."
Yes, I loved it. And she's like, they put people in jail for
For
that?
that? Yeah, I know.
So Brittany's talking to her, and she's like, okay, basically the biggest, baddest bitch in here is on her way over here.
Oh, she says Chola alert,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
love. Chola
The
alert.
Cholo alert. So, she's the biggest, baddest bitch in here, and she was the one who runs things. And, Reese with her little petite self is just turned around and she's not paying any attention to her. And she says something to her, and she's like, bitch, did you hear me? It's over with. Reese flips into crazy mode. She grabs her and takes her head and slams it into the wall, and then she takes the for all you young kids, that's a payphone.
Yes.
They used to have those on walls you put quarters in and you were able to make a call.
Yes.
So
they were attached to a cord.
exactly. So she's taking that and she's beating her with it, and she's on top of her, beating the piss out of her. And somebody handed her a pencil and was like, stab her with it. But they come and they take her
Break
off, obviously. They break it up, and they pull her into solitary confinement and give her a shot to knock her out. Which, can they do that? I don't know if they can do that or not. I mean, it's good for the movie, but if anybody knows if they're allowed to do that if you're acting crazy, let us know, because I don't know.
Because you know what? Something about that seems a little shady, a little sketchy.
Yeah, seems a little sketchy to me, but I don't know how that works. So
Same.
If you know, let us know.
Yes.
If it's ever happened to you, let us know, and then we really want to talk to you. So
we want to know a lot more.
Right? So she's in solitary. She's dreaming of finding her grandmother.
No.
They then show her in there, and she's making a shank and out of a toothbrush and all this good stuff. And we find out that her stepfather taught her this. And
I mean, that shiv that she's making, like, that is like quality. Like, she knows what she's doing. Like,
yes.
Larry at least did one good thing, I guess, which is teach his stepdaughter how to make a prison shiv.
Right. I mean,
Father of the year.
Well. Father of the year there. And then she hides said shank. She puts it in a tube and she hides it in her cooter.
As you do in prison.
Right. So I'm like, okay, great. So now she's out in like the main room with everybody else, and they see Bob and the wife on TV, and Vanessa's watching it while she's in jail. And the show's talking about, how his life has changed, and she's like, and he can't get it up anymore. And I'm like, even if that were the case, why would you say that on national TV? The guy's not dead. Give him a little respect here.
There is like, that signifies a whole lot of tension that's been in that relationship for like a long time. And it's probably because all those late nights that he's spending, whatever, it's because he's out there killing prostitutes. You know what I mean? And so there is definitely like tension between them two, because if that was your husband who you loved and you trusted and everything, you would not be bringing up his problems when he's like, still recovering and all messed up from this horrible incident.
And I have to kind of laugh, because I'm like, okay, you didn't die, but you were a sexual killer and now you can't get it up.
No.
It's kind of funny. So
I know. And it's funny too, because you can see, like, I feel like Bob, he's messed up and everything, but he's kind of eating it up that he's still alive, that he did beat Reese. Like, you see him smile at times. He has like a crazy look in his eyes still, even in his like headgear and everything. Like, he's crazy.
So Vanessa's back in Gen Pop, and she's sleeping, and she's dreaming of her past and past things that have happened. So she wakes up because she's having a nightmare, and she begins to have a conversation with the crazy lesbian next door. So, I mean, I guess as you do. Yeah, I guess as you do. She's having a crazy a dream with a crazy lesbian next door.
Yep.
She tells her about the shank and shows it to her and tells her that she's busting out of there, and then she hops over from her bed into her bed and starts kissing her and making out with her, and Vanessa's like, I'll make out with you, that's fine, but that's all we're doing because I'm not gay. Well, I'm like,
I love it.
well, honey, I have news for you. So,
oh, and I love that. Like Rhonda was just very impressed with her skills.
Yeah,
like she made
absolutely.
this weapon. It was impressive. She couldn't control herself.
Well, I mean, there you go. So now we're back at court. Vanessa is just sitting there laughing like a hyena when they're like, okay, you're gonna be tried as an adult, and she's just just laughing about it. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, it is what it is, and
Yeah.
that's what it is. Because I'm like, why is this broad laughing? But she's got a plan.
She got a plan.
That's why she's laughing. She's got
She
a
ain't
plan.
staying there.
No. Cops are at the school, and they're now talking to all of Vanessa's friends who, a couple of them have been picked up with prostitution with her and did this and this, but they all say the same thing. They don't think she would do this, and she really isn't, not all that bright, but she's an upstanding girl, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So the one cop is like, something's not jiving. Something's not right. This just doesn't work for me. I'm gonna go back to the crime scene. And the other cop's like, the crime scene's like 2.5 hours away, and he's like, yes, so I'm gonna go back to the crime scene now.
Okay.
Other cop's like, do you go ahead?
Yeah.
Let me know what's happening. So cop goes to the crime scene, and he's looking around, and all of a sudden he finds her ponytail that was thrown out the window. So, okay, she's not lying. There's something going on here. So
maybe that guy was the I-5 killer.
Right? So now the warden and a guard are taking 4 girls from the court back to jail. They decide that they're going to go ahead and stop at a gas station so the girls can go to the bathroom and the cop can get some beef jerky. Because
priorities.
Yeah, he wants beef jerky. I mean, I'm not going to be mad at him because, well, he wants beef jerky. Cool beans.
When
have at it.
Calls.
Right? I'm like, I thought you should be there to watch them, but whatever.
But so jerky.
All 4 girls go into the bathroom together. Which again, I don't think they would let them all go in together, but I don't know. I think it would be one at a time.
I'm just saying
that would make sense.
I don't think that's how it would go. But anyway.
No. So Reese pulls out the shank, and she's like, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And the cholo is there that she beat up, and then a set of twin girls, and twin girls were like, we ain't got shit to do with this. This ain't got nothing to do with me. And the other girl's like, I'm gonna help you. And she's like, I beat your ass. Why you're gonna help me? She's like, listen, I'm here on double murder, and I turn 18 soon, so I'm going to wait for the rest of my life. So if I can get out of here too,
then that sounds great.
Let's go ahead and do this. So
yeah, I'm in.
Right. So the warden knocks on the door and says, come on out. What's going on, girls? She opens the door. They pull her in, and Reese has got the thing, and she's like, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. You're never going to get away with it. There's 2 of us, and you can't get past all the other guards. And I'm like, well, there's 4 girls and only 1 guard, or 2. But okay, I think they'll be able to manage. So the cholo goes over and takes off, it was a scarf, was it?
Something like that, yeah.
Or a bandana or something.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, and chokes her to death. And as she's choking her to death, they go outside and the other cop comes walking out. And although those two didn't want to help, they did anyway. And they were, she's like,
They
oh,
sure
my sister
did.
thinks you're really cute and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, that's good. And Reese comes out with a knife and slices him and he falls down. And again, she sliced him across the chest and he immediately fell. And he's like, don't kill me. She's like, you dumbass, I haven't killed you.
Yeah, I know.
Why didn't he go for his gun?
That's what I know. It's like you're an officer. You have to be armed right now.
Right? I'm like, why didn't you go for your gun?
You're transporting prisoners. Like, of course he's armed. And it's like, anyway.
So, meanwhile, the Cholo's in there, and not only has she choked this broad to death, now she's stomping her to death. You go in and, I mean, there's like blood all over. There's blood all over her.
Everywhere.
Yes, I love it. So I mean, it was a beautiful, gory, bloody scene. When they opened the door, I was like, oh, that's pretty. And then I'm like, I think I need help.
I felt the same way, but I gotta say, it is serious when somebody is like stomping on somebody. That is like brutal.
Oh.
Brutal.
One of the worst stomps I've ever seen. And it's not even really bloody. Have you seen American History X?
Oh gosh, yes, I have.
The curb scene?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God. Great movie. Great movie.
Talk about a movie that's not a horror movie, but is a horror movie.
But it is a horror movie. Oh, yes.
That one.
Definitely. There are so many elements of, that just creep you out in that. But
such an intense movie. Great movie.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Great movie. So anyway, back to this movie. They steal the cop's van. They must ditch it somewhere. The Cholo calls her boyfriend to come and pick them up. So they come, pick them up. They give him new clothes. They give Reese new clothes to wear. She slips her $20 and gives her the boyfriend's gun.
Yeah.
I'm like, that bitch don't need to have a gun. She's crazy with the gun. Don't give her a gun. So
yeah. I think this is the last thing she needs right now. But you know what? It's also like, I think that they like formed a little really like a friendship there that was interesting. Yeah. And she's like, you know what? I got you, girl. Like, you help me get out. I'm gonna take care of you. I got you some clothes, got you a gun, you go take care of yourself. Good luck.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. Gave her the car, and Reese is like, I can't take this car. Isn't the person going to be? And he handed her the keys. He's like, I don't think he's going to be missing. Did you notice the keys were all bloody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's great. That's great.
Know.
So now we go from there to the cops show up at Bob's house. At Bob and the wife's house, and she wants to know if they find the girl yet and what the hell's going on. And she's that rich, self-entitled, things are going to be my way. Yes. Have you found them yet? And blah blah blah. And they're like, no, we haven't. Where's your husband? We need to talk to him. And she's like, well, no, I want to know if you found it. Where is your husband at? Well, he's at the hospital at rehab. So he turns around and he tells the other cop, he's like, go there and get him and bring him back here. Which I don't think they would have brought him back there. I think they would have just went and got him.
Yeah, they would have grabbed him and taken him in.
Yeah. So they say, we have a search warrant to search the house. Can you go ahead and sign this for us? And she's like, I'm not signing anything. And he's like, mark it that she's not signed it, but we're still going to do it. No, do upstairs, downstairs, garage, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We need to find out what's going on here. Yeah. So we hear him say, there's a storage shed out back. Let's go to the storage shed. So they go to the storage shed and they pop it open and they find a bunch of like bondage porno mags and bones and stuff in there. So obviously.
And it cascades out of, it's like the shed is so full and there's like kiddie porn in there and it's so full of like pornography and weird stuff. Like it just comes like sliding out like an avalanche.
Absolutely. It's not like
there were Shield's feet, and she's just like Oh,
There wasn't 2 magazines in there. There was like, 200 and stuff just came falling out at her feet, and she just kind of looked at it and went back inside. And so the wife now realizes, oh my God, he's got an issue. He really could be the I-5 killer. I don't know what's going on. And the other cop is like, this was in here. And she's like, the bones. She's like, those were babies. Those were kids. And cop's like, yeah, they were. Just kind of all nonchalant. Yeah, they were. We were right. So she freaks out and runs upstairs, which again, they would not have let her gone because there could have been more evidence up there, and so they would have not have let her gone. But she runs upstairs and slams the door, and all of a sudden you hear boom, and they run upstairs and she blew her brains out. Now, again, when she runs upstairs and blows her brains out, is it because she found out who he was and she couldn't deal with it? Or did she know? Did she really know already, but now the gig is up? Or did she know and now her suspicions are confirmed?
So what I think, okay, I think that I don't think that she knew completely what was happening, right? But obviously there was tension between them. Obviously there was something that wasn't right in that relationship. I mean, he has a whole shed in the back of their house that's filled with his dirty stuff, So it's if they were a healthy couple, there wouldn't be a weird shed in the backyard full of his dirty secrets, So but I think she knew, I think the tension between them shows that she knew something was going weird. I'm sure she was suspicious of him, but I'm thinking she probably thought it was more he's having an affair, or maybe she had an idea that he was picking up prostitutes, but he thought he was picking up prostitutes. I don't think she thought that he was necessarily the I-5 killer until that moment.
That's what I got out of it too. I figured she knew something was amiss in the relationship. Maybe she thought he was having an affair or something, but she's not going to say anything. It's just kind of, it is what it is.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly. And then she found out it's a lot more than I thought it was, and too much for her to handle. I mean,
yeah. And when she saw that stuff, that probably all the pieces just kind of clicked together for her all of a sudden, weird things that had probably happened in their relationship, weird little things he had said, weird little things that he did. All of a sudden it was like a light bulb went off where she's like, that's what that meant.
Oh my God, how the hell did I miss that? How did I miss that? Yeah.
And then she's probably having serious guilt too, because now she's realizing that there was a young woman, a teenage girl who comes from a totally broken home, has nothing, was a victim of her husband. And she has been further victimizing this young lady, by being gas her, death sentence. So she probably feels really guilty and just ashamed and freaked out and all of that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Whew. So now we get Reese looking all kinds of hot. Walking down the street, eating her little gummy bears.
I know.
Working the street and is prostituting herself. So
she is.
The John comes up and says, this is what I want. And she's like, let's find it. Let's find an alley. Okay. And I was like, well, it is what it is. So she tells him, drop your pants and take them all the way down. It's easier that way. Pulls a gun on him, says she's going to rob him. They agreed on $25. She's like, give me the money. He only had $5 in his wallet. And she's like, I was only going to get $5 for this? He's like, well, it's all
just take it. Just take it all. And it's like, yeah, gee, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I'll take the full $5.
So she makes him get out of the car, take his pants off. And she's like, drop the skivvies. She's like, get in the trunk. He's like, I'm claustrophobic. She's like, I don't give a shit. Get in the trunk. He's like, I got to pee. She's like, pee in the trunk. Don't care. She could have killed him.
Yeah, she could have.
I mean,
she's capable.
So now, after she puts him in the truck, we see a waitress walking over to a table to tell this guy to stop smoking in this restaurant. We see now that it's Bob. He's all still screwed up and face all jacked up and smoking and still got that raspy voice thing that you talk with. I don't know what it's called. I'm not making fun of anybody, but I don't know what it's called. So
yeah,
that's what it is. Is it a trach?
I think it is called. It's something like that. Yeah,
something like that. But whatever that thing is, where it makes you sound like that.
Yes.
So, and again, not making fun of anybody who has that. I don't know what it's called. So Bob's at the restaurant. We find out that he's now looking for Vanessa because he has a bloody picture of Grandma that he turns over and has the trailer park and everything on there. So,
well, address and everything.
Yeah, which that's just convenient.
I know, awfully convenient.
So Vanessa now pulls into the parking lot of the trailer, jumps out to look to see where Grandma lives. She's looking on the little roster there, and guy still in the trunk. Talk about knocking on the trunk. Talk about, can I get out? So in the meantime, we know that Bob's on his way there as well, and the cops are now on their way there, and everybody's kind of driving their receive at different times, and cops pull in and they jump out, like park right next to the car. They're looking. I'm like, clearly someone is knocking in here in the car. Can you not? I'm like, can you not see them or hear them? Anyway, they're going down to find Grandma's trailer too. So she actually finds Grandma's trailer and she comes in and she's like, Grandma, it's me. I'm here, your granddaughter. And she goes over to the bed and, Grandma's up here with her bonnet on and the blanket pulled up to here. And she's like, oh, Grandma, what ugly effing eyes you have, Bob. Because she obviously knows that it's him. He's in Grandma's bed. So he gets out and is talking about, where's my grandmother? And she's like, he shows her Grandma is there with a noose around her neck, naked. And she's like, you killed her. And he's like, that's not all I did to her. Oh. Creepy. Yeah, but he's like, that's not all I did to her. So before he can kill her, the neighbor comes over and he's like, oh, I got whatever it was, an electrical cord or something. And he's like, I got this for you. And then he's like, freaks out. And Bob shoots him and kills him. And as he shoots him, he takes his eyes off of Vanessa. So Vanessa starts attacking him and jumps on him and is beating him. And they're rolling around and, get a little fight scene. And meantime, the cops are running toward the trailer that she's in, calling for Vanessa. And because they've heard the gunshots now, when they killed the neighbor. So they obviously aren't going to rush in because they don't know if they have a gun. So I understand that part. So next thing she's on top of Bob, and she was choking. Was it with a phone cord?
What, like a phone cord or a necklace or something? Yeah. It was some kind of cord or like string.
Yeah, some type of cord or something. Yeah. But she was choking him, and she obviously chokes him to death. And this time she makes sure that he's dead. So she, comes outside and she just sits down, all bloody and beat up, and she sits down and the cops run in the house and they're like, they see the dead guy there and they're like, holy shit. They see the dead grandmother and they're like, holy shit. So then they look at Bob laying there and they're like, holy shit. So they turn around and they go outside and they don't ask her if she's okay, if they need an ambulance, if you're right. They just kind of smile at her because they know they were wrong. He was the I-5 killer. Yep. She's already killed him, and she just looks at him and she's like, yeah, I've got a cigarette. They smile and it's the end of the movie. So.
And that is Freeway.
That is Freeway.
I have to say, I love the ending because it's this sweet little, everybody kind of has a little laugh about it too, where it's like, hey, it's our kumbaya moment. It's like, hey, we were wrong, you were right, now the I-5 killer is dead, everything's good. But awesome movie. Okay,
all right,
so I got a couple fun facts here. I don't have that many. Sadly, there weren't that many good ones that I could find.
Right.
As we said, the photo that she shows to Bob is a mass murderer. That's Richard Speck. We also mentioned that this is based on Little Red Riding Hood, so there's references to that all the way through. I did think it was interesting that this was originally rated NC-17.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because of the language and some of the violence, they toned it down to get the lower rating. Reese used an exaggerated version of her natural Tennessee accent for the film, which I think is really, really cute.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing that I thought was the coolest little bit of trivia was Danny Elfman, the Danny Elfman. He did the score for Freeway, and
Yeah.
apparently he did it for $1 and some yard work.
Really? I did not know that.
And I don't know the whole story. I gotta track it down. But according to the internet, I think it was just like a passion project for him because apparently he just took $1 and had them do some yard work to make that. Danny Elfman.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I thought that was I thought that was really awesome. Some other things, just that this was like an early role for Reese. She had been on Man in the Moon and maybe like a couple other little things, but this was a pretty big early role for her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's about all the fun facts I have today. There wasn't a whole lot of them. Oh, the blood on her face in the diner scene when she goes in and she's covered in blood. Apparently, it gave her an allergic reaction. So,
oh wow,
got to check your fake blood.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's rate this bad boy here. Ethan, what is your rating for this movie?
Okay, I love this movie. Kiefer is an excellent actor. Would love to meet him.
Oh my God, that whole family is amazing.
Yeah. And Reese, come on, she's gorgeous. She's a great actress. A little less believable in this role because I can't see her. I was talking to you. I can't see her as white trash.
I know.
But she still did a very good job in it. And she is fine as all get out. I'm probably a little more nostalgic with this movie than most people would be because I've seen it when it first came out and I loved it. I've had the fight with people. This isn't a horror movie. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I will die in that hill. I think it's a horror movie. Whether you think it is or not, that's fine. You tell me what you think. Put it in the comments. But I definitely think it's a horror movie. And I definitely think if you have not seen it, that you should definitely see it. This is going to get a higher rating for me. And I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Oh, that's a good rating. That's a good rating. So I really enjoy this one. I agree. It's definitely like a horror movie. I think it's also like a really dark comedy. Like that's the vibe I get from it because there's a lot of really dark humor in it. And that is my jam. I love the dark humor that comes up in this. It is really interesting to see Reese playing this type of character. Like we said, we don't usually see Reese in this type of role. She's typically that like kind of like the beautiful, perfect girl next door, so it's different seeing her in this role, but I thought she did amazing. Love Kiefer. I like that this movie is a little unusual. There's something about it that's a little different, and I like that. Yeah. And it has like a feel and a vibe, and if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. All that being said, I think for me, it's like a solid 7. I really like this movie. I haven't seen it in a while, so this was a treat to rewatch it, and I would definitely recommend it to other people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys let us know what you think of Freeway 2, especially like, do you think it's a horror movie? What did you think of Reese's performance? We'd just love to hear your thoughts on Freeway. So definitely hit us up on social media and let us know.
Please let us know.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for joining us tonight on the Bloody Essentials. And remember, if you ever find yourself in a horror movie, don't have sex, don't do drugs,
and don't die. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.